Achoo! Moo? Boo! No, don't worry, I've not travelled through a creaky door, sneezed at all the dust before blowing a trumpet, confusing a cow and making the crowd angry. I only do that sort of thing on a Saturday. I was just playing Uproar, the very funny game of silly sounds from Macmillan. It's a super simple but incredibly fun play, suitable for anyone of any age at all, as long as you can read, match words, and most importantly, make amazing noises like surprised cat, meow, or bubbles, or twit twoo. Can you guess what that was? Yeah, that's right, a sad owl. Twit twoo. Oh wait, that wasn't me that time. I am a sad owl. Oh no, why are you sad? Because I'd like to have a go at funny noises too. Oh, okay, go on then. If you go to macmillan.fun and use the code CC4K, you'll get a fancy 10% off the brilliant Uproar game. What sound effect was that? Rubbish podcast host. Oh. As the sad owl, who is rubbish at sound effects, says, head to macmillan.fun and have a look at any of their brilliant, very funny games, including the wonderful Uproar. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can use the code CC4K to get a whole 10% off. Woohoo! I'm a happy owl now. You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hello and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast for all ages from 2 and everything in between. I'm definitely Tiernan. Yes, in fact, I'm certain of it. And you? Who are you? Well, you are probably on your summer holidays, right? Your summy hollybops, your some hollydoos. And what are you getting up to on your silly billy hula-has? Are you going to the beach where you can build sandcastles? Or, if it's a stony beach, you can build real castles. That's it. People always get upset with stony beaches, like, oh, it hurts my feet. Don't walk on it then. Build a real castle. Or maybe you've gone camping. I love camping because what happens in camping is you go to bed and your tent is freezing. But then you wake up in the morning and it's boiling hot and you're never, ever comfortable. It is brilliant. Then loads of bugs come in and they have a sleepover and then you have to poo behind a tree. I mean, there might be campsite toilets, but that doesn't mean you can't poo behind a tree and let no one tell you otherwise. Oh, and your door is a zip, which is bonkers. Or maybe for your silly hula-has, you are at home playing Minecraft. Sorry, it's your craft, isn't it? I have to forget, you have to say it differently depending on who you're talking to. If it's my game, then it's Minecraft, but if it's yours, it's your craft. And if it's everyone's, it's we craft, which sounds disgusting, like you're making stuff of we. Or maybe you're spending it on the moon building a secret moon base for when you plot to take over the world. Linda, what are you doing for your Simmy Hallidas? Linda? Oh, no idea. Well, I am going to loads of festivals to do shows, and in between I'll be mostly pretending to know who bands are, even though I have no idea at all, and I'm going to be a dad wearing shorts, which I think is up there with the most embarrassing things a dad can do, isn't it? Look at my knees, everyone, my wobbly, knobbly dad knees. It's just embarrassing for absolutely everyone. Dad knees look a bit like small bald heads on your legs, don't they? Like a sad potato between your thigh and your calf. Like, well, a knobbly wobbly knee, and no one wants to see that, which is exactly why I wear shorts, so everyone has to, and it makes my daughter embarrassed. Ha 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 ha! True villainous dad activity. One thing you have all been doing with your Sally Humahas is you've been sending in loads and loads of stuff to Comedy Club Kids HQ. So hang on, let me just grab the mailbag full of very, very heavy emails. Here we go. First up is this absolute blinder of a joke from Adam. When this arrived, I laughed so much I fell over sideways and I nearly rolled off down the street, which would have been absolute chaos, so I'm very glad the door was closed. So, I hope you enjoy this too. Here we go. Did you know Yoda from Star Wars has a last name? It's Lee-Hee-Hoo. That's right. Yodelay-hee-hoo. Yes, I love it so much. Thanks, Adam, for sending this in. I really wish that was Yoda's full name. And then whenever the other characters wanted to talk to him, they'd have to yodel, "Hey, Yodelay-hee-hoo." I suppose the really confusing thing is Yoda himself would say it the wrong way round, wouldn't it? He'd go, "Holy ha Yoda I am," and that would kind of ruin it. Silly Yoda. But brilliant, Adam. Thank you tons for your excellent joke. There's also been loads of lovely reviews this week, but look, we need to talk about them, right? Because first we've got K-Doc, who's messaged before. Hi, K-Doc. And K-Doc has said, "I wanted to give you something new," and then they've put emojis of a turkey farting a lot. I mean, like all of the farts. Like, there's none left for anyone else ever. You might think you got a fart, but you haven't, because this turkey has already taken it and done it themselves, right? And then K-Doc has written, "Yay, it's an ultra farting turkey." Now, look, K-Doc, it's very nice of you to send something, especially something new, but can you understand that the farting turkey has been causing devastating levels of smell in Comedy Club for Kids HQ, and farting so much it's knocked most of the other farting animals off the shelf, not the whale, that is too heavy, and I'm sitting here in the worst kind of turkey fart fog that you can imagine. I wouldn't pardon this turkey, that's all I'm saying, even though really it should say pardon after every fart, but you know, thanks for the review. It's very nice of you. Please, can no one else send in any ultra farting turkeys, because it's horrid. And then we've got this review from Sinead, which says, "Best podcast ever, obviously in front of my eyes." Thank you, Sinead. Though, do you see our podcast instead of hear it? I mean, that is amazing. I wonder what it looks like. I hope it doesn't look like my knees, or no one will tune in anymore. It'd be awful. Sinead then says, "Even though all I can see is the toilet full of poo-poo and wee-wee, which is baby poo and toddler wee, normal poo is called poo, which is quite boring if you're staring at the toilet." Cheese! Sinead, why are you listening to this show while staring at a toilet? Why is it full of baby poo? Babies use nappies, or as you say in the US, diapers, don't they? I mean, how clever is that baby that it can use the toilet? I'd be quite worried about a baby that clever. They'll get up to all sorts of mischief. There's so many questions, so few answers, apart from maybe cheese, which is a good answer for most things. Joe V very kindly said, "This podcast is Stinky Hippo 10 out of 10. Thank you, Joe. That is the best review we could possibly get. It's kind of like the Nobel Prize for listening things that you can listen to while staring at the toilet. And then, well, look, I'm not even sure we have time for this, because it may well require a podcast series of its own. But there is a review by Pancake Shell Leaf Coral Mouse, I think that's their name, and they've typed something in Japanese before putting, "I'm not Japanese, I did it for fun. My request is decode it." Right, okay, Pancakes, that's what I'm going to call you for short. Let me just use the CC4K translating ice cream scoop that I've got right here. So, in Japanese, I believe it says, and I apologise to any Japanese listeners for how badly I'm going to say this, but it says "ran oni," and then an oni mask emoji, and then "I utsuke keieta mama dekedo koremi yogashi." And that means, it translated, "Ranky oni mask emoji, just look at while accepting the stomach." What, Pancakes? What does that mean? Whose stomach am I accepting? I've already got a stomach. Does that mean I get to eat twice as much if I get another one? Or does it replace the one I've already got? And hang on, how much poo does that mean I'll have? I mean, look, thank you, but it really is a lot to worry about, and I'm not sure I have the time for more stomachs, and I don't understand why I have to look at the thing while I accept it, but... Right, very confusing. Right, and lastly, but not leastly, some of you have sent in entries to the Uproar competition that we've been doing for the last few weeks. Uproar is a brilliant game of silly noises by Macmillan, and you might hear at the beginning of this show is an advert about it, which you can get 10% off if you go to macmillan.fun. But I have been saying on the show that if you sent in your impressions of noises from the game Uproar, then you could win a copy. So 2 weeks ago, I said, could you do an impression of an opera singer? And Zoya and Tess, well, congrats, because you have won for sending in this brilliant recording.
Doctor, doctor, I think I have lettuce up my bottom. I'm afraid it's just the tip of the iceberg.
So you so definitely get a copy of Uproar for doing an impression and a hilarious joke at the same time. I really think all jokes should be done in opera now. It is the absolute best, and that copy will be getting sent to you ASAP. And then last week, I asked for your impressions of wet shoes, and Lua sent in this.
Hi, Tiernan. These might like what you said. You could win a game of Uproar if you did a wet shoe noise. So, I thought wet shoe could be two things. It could be like a shoe that is wet. So, like a soggy shoe, which would sound maybe a bit like this. Or you could have a wet shoe, being a shoe that is a wimp. So that would be like, oh, I'm so sad, all the other shoes are being so mean to me. I don't want to do that. Like a whiny shoe, I guess. Bye.
Absolutely amazing, Lua, and I love that you did shoes that are wet and also wimpy shoes. You will get a copy of Uproar sent to you too. I hope you have lots of fun with that. Big congrats. And this week, for the rest of you, if you can make the sound of, let me just check my Uproar deck of cards here. Ooh, if you can make the sound of a happy frog, then get your cloddish parp ogres, I'm sorry, grown-ups, to help you record your impression of a happy frog. You can do it on their smartphone or on a computer, or, I mean, really, there's lots of different ways you can record it, and or really be inventive. If you think there's a way you can do an impression in typing or in a picture, then do that and email it to us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. You can win a copy of Macmilla's brilliantly fun family game too. And of course, do ask those cloddish parp ogres, I'm sorry, grown-ups, to help you email us with any jokes, Japanese that needs translating badly, or most importantly, questions that you need answering, and you can send all of those in too. Also, check out our Radio Nonsense t-shirts at comedyclubforkids.store, and do come and see us live at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival through all of August, Camp Festival, the one in Dorset and in Shropshire, the big Feastival in Oxfordshire, the Olympic Park. We've got shows in Walthamstow, we've got shows in Burton-on-Trent, we've got shows everywhere. There's loads of them. You can find them all on comedyclub4kids.co.uk. And now, look, you might be on Slammer Hula Hoos, but you still need important questions answering, and so here, as you know, is the most importantest bit.
Just a happy school girl looking forward to a seaside holiday north.
I am very excited that here on Radio Nonsense today, I am joined by Charlie Vero-Martin, aka Chavi Marticles, who knows all the particles. Charlie, the world's greatest turnip ambassador, and of course, as you're known to those who speak Sebano, Reina sa muga sunge sa sapatos ug maga kazoo. But of course, all of our listeners will know you as the first person to ever boil an egg by just making it really, really angry, the 6-time winner of the highly acclaimed Virtual Sleeping Championships, and most famously, you are the inventor of the, world-changing Shoes for Your Shoes. Charlie, it is lovely having you here. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you. It's so lovely that you've done so much research on me.
Of course.
Some of those projects I've not even thought about for several years, but it's an honor to be here and discuss them with you.
Is that right that you've now just done? I mean, because you say I've done research. I don't think I've covered even a third of the things you've achieved. Is it just now you've done so much, you've invented so many things that you kind of forget where you started?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm actually I'm writing a biography about all of them. Looking at the Shoes for Shoes project was one of the first.
That is incredible because, this is the problem. We put shoes on our feet to protect our feet, but then, of course, what protects the shoes? And there you were, well, shoes for your shoes. I mean, it was just, I'm saying it now, and the people listening probably won't ever believe that was a revelation because we're so used to it. But, of course, shoes on your shoes, and then, of course, there was shoes for your shoes, and it just went from there. And I saw someone the other day with at least 15 pairs of shoes on top of the, original shoes.
Harry! You saw Harry.
Right.
He's actually our PR manager for Shoes for Shoes.
Right. Right.
So he always wears at least 15 pairs of shoes. Galoshes on shoes, on Crocs, on tennis platforms, on I could go on flip-flops, on DMs.
Oh, yeah. I saw those, yeah.
Yeah. On those Velcro ones that you get for when you can't be bothered tying your laces. I mean, obviously, it goes on and on and on. He's an aficionado of the Shoes for Shoes, for sure.
And then, is he, because obviously there's a lot of advantages to wearing that many shoes, but I'd have thought one is that, certain restaurants or venues would be like, you can only come in if you've got this type of footwear, and he's always got it. Like, it doesn't matter what he's wearing.
It's very, very useful. I mean, I think it's always good to be overdressed because you're never going to upset anyone. He can always adapt. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's the way layering up is always a good way to go in this climate. So you can take away.
Absolutely. And I mean, that is the thing, we are talking to each other on quite a warm day, and I wondered how are Harry's feet? Are they must get pretty hot in all those shoes on shoes.
I mean, he wears shoes on shoes on shoes on shoes, but he doesn't wear socks on socks on socks on socks.
Ah, brilliant.
That's the difference. He goes barefoot, which actually ends up meaning that the initial pair of shoes can get quite smelly.
Sure.
But it does save him in the heat and some time as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I can imagine that. And I can also imagine that while the first pair gets smelly, there's so many other shoes on top of it that you wouldn't smell them.
True. So it's really only an issue when he takes them off and puts his slippers on his slippers before going to bed.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course, which is necessary, obviously, if you're going to really commit to doing this.
I mean, he's committed he's one of our best employees, for sure.
Amazing. And what is it? And obviously he's got, umpteen pairs. How many sort of shoes on shoes do you like to wear? Or have you sort of, did you invent it and kind of give it away to other people and you perhaps scaled back? Sometimes that can be the case.
Yeah, I kind of scale back a little bit. I go through trends. It is a hot day, so I'm probably only going to wear 2-3 pairs today. But, I'm Scottish, so in the winter, I go all the way out. It depends on the season, really, for me. It's a seasonal choice. And that was a part of my life in my early 20s where it was all about the shoes. But I think I've matured a bit past that now.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. And obviously, you've expanded into horseshoes as well. Which I thought was an important move.
Expanded into what? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Into horseshoes.
Oh, horseshoes!
Yep,
right?
Of
course. Oh, of course. Of course, for horses, of course. Yeah, and especially doing a really great collaboration with tap shoes as well.
Oh, wow.
Horseshoes with tap shoes that are also horseshoes, so they can be extra noisy.
That must sound absolutely incredible in during horse racing. Must sound like
terrifying.
A sort of like a percussion troupe. I mean, that must be absolutely incredible. Yeah. And how many? I mean, out of interest, if you for tap dancers, if they wear tap shoes on tap shoes on tap shoes, what sort of can you get different tones, different levels depending on how many tap shoes they're wearing at any one time?
Oh, 100%. Oh, definitely. And if they start putting them on their hands, so that's actually, I'm going to let you in on the ground level here. We have been discussing shoes on gloves, on gloves on gloves.
What? That is mind-blowing. Wow, is that an exclusive? Is that a radio nonsense
That's
exclusive?
A radio nonsense exclusive just for you and your listeners.
Wow.
We've done shoes on shoes on shoes. Now we're doing gloves on gloves on gloves and potentially shoes on gloves on gloves on gloves.
That is, my mind is blown. I can't quite, I'm trying to imagine it, but it's almost making me feel a bit dizzy. And I mean, I can see why you're writing a biography about the, you must have so much to put in there. What are you thinking of calling? Have you got a name for the book yet? I know it can be the hardest part.
The angriest egg is the easiest one to crack.
Wow!
Yeah.
Amazing. And I mean, and that obviously we have mentioned that earlier. That was one of the. I think that was probably the first moment that you kind of came into the spotlight.
Yeah, that was my breakthrough. Kind of discovery, as it were.
What's the best? I don't want you to give away. I'm very aware that you've come onto this podcast and we have got some very important questions to ask you, and I don't want you to give away all your secrets, all your trade secrets. But where's a good place to start if you want to make an egg like really, really annoyed?
Really
what's
annoyed.
Your intro.
They don't like whistling. They don't like a lot of background noise, basically, and. Especially if you ever want to start with like a low level hum, like a and then when they look at you and say, stop humming, you say, I'm not humming. And just keep it going. And ideally have a friend or a sibling with you so that once you start to get a bit tired, like you're running out of breath with the humming, you can tap them and they'll start the hum again, and just keep it going between you until the egg eventually loses it. That's a good way to warm up a grumpy egg, I'd say. A good starting point.
And I should just say, for any listeners, if you heard that hum and it made you angry, there is, I'm afraid, a high chance you're an egg. And I'm sorry that you had to find out this way, but at least you know now. And how long does it take? Because I think normally boiling an egg takes about 2 minutes? It depends on the size of egg. People,
depends if you want it runny or not. If you want it hard boiled or not. Right. If you want a hard boiled grumpy egg, I'd say 5 hours.
Wow, that's great.
But you've got to be a real connoisseur. Like only me, Heston Blumenthal, and Delia Smith have been able to manage it in that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But you taught those other two, obviously.
Of course.
Delia and Heston, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we had a really lovely weekend away where they were like, "Come on, you got to share all your secrets. We need to know the egg stories." And like Jamie Oliver, and he's been trying his own techniques, but they're never going to be as effective as mine, I'm afraid.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I mean, can I ask, because one of the things, if listeners don't know Heston Blumenthal, he's a chef that became famous for making lots of food like probably the listeners do already, where it's like, I'll just put ketchup on ice cream, which is what every sort of 7-year-old does. And then there's like, I'll put snails in your porridge, which is horrible. But I mean, essentially, he's a grown-up and he's making lots of money by making food that 7-year-olds make all the time. Did he treat you to any bizarre mixes of things?
Yeah. I mean, he made breakfast every morning, which was like sort of broccoli pancakes with. Right. Yeah, they weren't so good, but when he topped them with the hot banana fudge, that kind of mixed it all together really well.
That's good. And at least they're all edible things. Like I'm fully expecting. I was worried then you'd say like a sort of a sawdust, sawdust on toast.
Yeah, he did offer a sprinkling of gravel, which I chose not to because I'm a bit concerned about my teeth. Delia, on the other hand, loved the gravel. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's good to know. That is good to know. Well, maybe her next sort of book will be entirely gravel based, and I suppose it's quite useful because there's a lot of gravel out there, so it's quite easy to find for recipes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's nothing worse when you're trying to cook something. You're like, I don't know, this weird, type of icing or something that you've got to go to a special bake shop when you can just go out into your neighbour's garden and scoop up some gravel. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to make something the other day with star anise in it, and I went out looking for somebody called Anise who'd just done exceptionally well at things, and I couldn't find anyone else asking in the supermarket. And so it was sort of a shame. So I didn't end up making it properly, which is
that's
should just put gravel in it. Yeah.
I have a friend called Anise, who's very good at painting, and I'm sure she's won a few gold stars for that. So next time, let me know. I'll send her round.
That would be amazing. And then maybe she sort of put, I don't know what you do, you sort of put your face in it for a while, like, or she's like sort of puts her knee in there and then maybe it'll sort of change the flavour of the. I don't really know how cooking works.
The knee is the tastiest bit, so I'd imagine it is the knee. Yeah,
of course, yeah. That's what. Yeah, I would have thought that makes sense. But I mean, sort of back to your point, I do think that. Whereas had that recipe had gravel in, I could have just gone outside and thrown some in.
I know. Well, get Delia Smith's new cookbook. I'm sure it'll all be in there.
I mean, this is how lovely. I'm so pleased to have you on the show. You've got all your own things to promote. We've already mentioned your biography, but you're here promoting Delia Smith's cookbook.
I know. I mean,
it's very giving.
I do owe her. I do owe her a lot, though. She let me live in her treehouse for a little while.
Right.
Yeah, my flat was being it was being smoked out. There were too many squirrels in my flat, and they needed to just do a little bit of a chat with the squirrels, give them one last rave, That's what I meant by the smoke. Nothing horrible.
Oh, sure. Oh, that's nice. That's
yes.
you wanted that kind of raving kind of effect, smoky room. Was you put some nice lights in and
yeah. So we got a smoke machine and we got like some glow sticks and stuff. But I'm not really into raves, so I was like, you know what, Squiddles, you have this as your last night. I'll go stay with Delia for the weekend. And it worked out really well. I came back, they tidied up and everything, and we've gone our separate ways.
That's lovely. Can I ask how many squirrels is too many squirrels?
18.
Wow, that's a lot. That is the same family, or just sort of all friends that had kind of heard that yours was a great place to stay, or?
Yeah, I mean, originally it was mainly red squirrels, who I'm a big fan of, and then. But then some big squirrels, some grey squirrels came and they started bullying some of the other squirrels, and it was just not a nice vibe. And I don't stand for any of that. So yeah, I think it when it got to double digits, I started thinking, this is a bit much, and you're not paying rent, so either we're gonna have to sort out something like a cooking rota and a cleaning rota, or you're gonna have to find your own place.
That's fair. And I guess sort of you put a rave on, they can have a dance off, kind of clear up all the issues.
Yeah, they love raves, squirrels. And apparently my flat was particularly good for them. So I thought, let's one last big party, and we'll let it be. And maybe we'll live together another time. But I'm busy with the book. I don't need 18 squirrels raving around the house.
No, I mean, it's very hard to consistently boil an egg for 5 hours when you've got squirrels darting about. And,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, what I am curious about, those two, escape, and I don't take this as a criticism, it's more a sort of curiosity, but to escape squirrels, you went to a tree house, and I would have thought that tree houses were perhaps easier for squirrels to
The irony. I know. Well, I mean, it's all Delia had available at the time.
Sure.
So to be honest, I think, squirrels are like us, they like something that's a bit different. If they're going on holiday or something, they don't want to just go to their own house. They want to go somewhere a bit different. And especially after lockdown, they've spent all their time in tree houses in lockdown. They're like, I want to get out, I want to see something different. I want to go to a flat in central London and have a rave. Like, fair enough.
That makes sense. And actually, it's something that we don't, people do sort of do flat swaps, and there's like sort of Airbnb and things like that, where people go, I'll live in your home for a bit, you live in mine. And sometimes I wonder if we should do that with animals a bit more, because, we don't swap homes. Air, tree and tree. Oh my god! This is the kind of entrepreneurial genius that I knew we'd get on by asking you on the show. Air, tree and tree. I mean, that is absolutely fantastic. And, what a lovely idea to just, you could sort of look at different trees, say, I'll come and stay with yours. I'll leave you some acorns at mine, and we can have a nice time.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lovely thing, and taking Airbnb back to its roots in more ways than one.
Oh my god! I think this is going to have to be added to the biography, isn't it? You were saying that you had too much on, but I think you may have just added something else.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to be part of this venture with me, I'm open to it.
Wow, you think you might branch out?
Oh,
Is that allowed? Is that too much?
I hadn't twigged that one before.
Brilliant. Well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just leave. So this is, I feel like this is already, I should check as well. Obviously, we've opened this up, or you've opened this up to squirrels, but are there, there's quite a lot of species that live in a tree. Are there any ones we should be worried about? Anything we shouldn't, like a woodpecker, I assume might cause damage.
They can be quite disruptive. They occasionally get, they're okay at a rave, because you're already making that kind of noise.
Sure.
But they can be a bit messy, as you say. Badgers, completely fine. Always have the badger. Good. They might not be able to reach a top floor flat of a tree. So just be aware about that accessibility for badgers. But yeah, also it depends where you are in the world. We're very much talking about Great Britain here. I love to do an Airbnb with an orangutan. That would be the dream.
Oh wow! I mean, wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I'd sort of I don't know how I'd feel about an orangutan in my home, but I've seen various films where orangutans sort of wear little hats and things. I thought they'd probably be quite well behaved.
Oh, I would love to have an orangutan in my house. They're by far, I think, my favorite animal.
Really?
Yeah.
And what's
Just-
that to do with? Is it the color, the fact they just sort of hang around, or
I like orange things. Hence why I also like squirrels, because they're actually quite orangey. But yeah, they're just so big and wise. You just feel they're very wise, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I feel you probably learn quite a lot from an orangutan.
Yeah.
I don't entirely know what about, but I feel you'd learn a lot about something.
Yeah, I think you'd learn a lot about yourself.
You think?
Yeah, I think you'd get really introspective with an orangutan. I think you could just sit...
right, so you learn. Oh, I see. You learn not like you get an orangutan in, and they'd sit there and go, "You were born on this day in this hospital." Right? No, they'd actually tell you like who you are as a person, not like facts.
Yeah, I think they could be quite do some meditation. I imagine orangutans are quite good at things like that. I bet they're very good at helping people relax. I think an orangutan could run a good bubble bath.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I imagine coming home and an orangutan being like, "Lit some candles, got your favorite bubble bath. You go relax. I'll go make you a hot chocolate." I bet that's the sort of flatmate an orangutan would be.
That's amazing. Well, and also because they've got quite long arms, they can have one hand on the taps and the other hand really whizzing up all the bubbles.
Yeah,
and then probably not really move while they use one arm to make you a hot drink.
Yeah,
it's quite handy for that, isn't it? Just be able to reach lots of things that you couldn't reach otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. I haven't thought about it before, and I think you're right. I'm very keen to get on board with their tree, and I may well open up our home to an orangutan as soon as it's as you say branched out that far. Well, thank you, Charlie. I mean, this has already been incredibly insightful. I think already I don't know if the listeners were expecting quite so many insights into how to start so many kind of original businesses, but it's been pretty. That's what these podcasts are here for, right?
Yeah,
that's what these podcasts are here for.
Inspiring young minds.
Well, that's it. Exactly. I mean, who knows? Next, there could be Airbnb, but with actual bees, swapping hives. There's so many possibilities. Air, flea, and flea. I just feel like this may kickstart a whole new revolution. So
Airbnb
we'll
with actual bees. Oh, yeah. That would be so cute. Oh,
it would be. I mean, I'd assume you'd have to get bees to swap homes with bees, because I think I wouldn't want to. I don't think I'd fit in a hive, and it would be really sticky. So I don't think, and I don't know if bees would want to live in. They might do. I don't know if I'd want to let lots of bees live in my flat.
It could get quite messy.
Yeah,
could get quite busy.
Could get quite busy. So, and I don't know if I can handle that. It's not quite as chilled as an orangutan, but it's. I'm just saying that these are the kind of thoughts that you've spurred. And I'm so grateful that you came on this show with that kind of innovation, with that kind of energy. I think to drive this kind of inspiration. And obviously, though, I have you have a very specific question. But before I get to that one, got to ask you two important things, right? And one is that you probably know already, but this is an audio podcast, so I am sorry, you are wearing a fantastic hat, and they won't see that, but I know it's there, and it's really sparkly. I love it, but it's really good. But because it's an audio podcast, our listeners hear this mostly with their ears. They might be listening with their bums or their knees. As I say every week, we don't discriminate, however they want to listen. And I just wondered if you had a favourite noise that you could tell us about, or even hopefully make for us.
I actually do. I just it's attached to the back of my hat, and it goes like this.
Oh my goodness!
Isn't that the best noise in the world?
Could you do it again, please? That brings instant joy. That's an incredible noise. I mean, that is. I don't know if listeners will quite be able to guess what is making that noise either, because if you were to hear that noise sort of out and about, you might assume, I don't know, that someone had trodden on a mouse, perhaps, or something. Something very small, but. Oh my goodness.
Should I explain the very real story behind this?
I would love you to.
So for the listeners at home, it's a little rubber pig, which I think might have been a dog toy at some point. And I needed it for a show as a prize. So I did a show where I played a butcher. This maybe isn't kid friendly. I did a show where I got audience members up to be. I split the audience up into two gangs, and the way the two gangs had to fight was to play a game of miniature-sized hungry hippos on stage. And the prize was to get to squeak the pig. And this pig, so that was 2018. So this pig has been like passed around different costumes. I have cupboards upon cupboards in my flat of costumes and props. And this is one of them that's just always at the bottom. And sometimes I'll be really frustrated trying to find a particular prop because I've got to go to a show and I'll be like, oh, where's my top hat? I really need the top hat. And I'm going through and all I'll hear is in the middle of it. I'm like, no, not you. You're not what I need. And recently I was doing a photo shoot, which sounds very glamorous. And I'd brought all these props with me as part of the photo shoot. And this was the one that kept falling out the back.
I like that the pig must be seen. The pig must be heard. In fact,
yes, yeah. So that I do think is one of the most joyous sounds. I remember being on holiday with my friend Oriana, and we're on a balcony, and somewhere miles away there was somebody playing with a toy like that. And apparently, every time it squeaked, I turned around, fully in conversation, unaware, like a dog. And she's like, "Can you please stop doing that?" So yeah, that is by far my favorite noise. And yeah, that's.
I mean, it is wonderful. I put it up there. My favorite noise already. I absolutely love it, and I love the fact it comes from a tiny pig. I mean, do you look? And I don't want to disrespect any pigs listening to this podcast, but you know, pig noises are fine. They're fine. The sort of that's fine, right? But wouldn't it be brilliant if they all made that noise?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like farms would be a lot more fun, and people would probably eat fewer pigs.
Yeah. Oh my god! Especially if there are any pigs listening to this podcast, please just be aware that that's your this is audio only. You're fine. Yeah, I think that maybe pigs could get out of many of their situations by having higher pitched, cuter squeaks. But then I worry, you see, that then dogs would constantly be bothering them. So
that's a good point. You'd have all the sheepdogs running from one end of the farm over to the pig end of the farm, getting very distracted.
And then they'd be pig dogs, which doesn't sound as good as sheepdogs.
Yeah, no, they sound quite scary looking.
They do sound scary, yeah. Pig dog. Yeah. And then the sheep would have to make a higher noise in order to get the dogs back, and then you'd have a sort of eventually you'd have, like, you know, I don't know, horses going like, or something. They'd have to do something to.
And then dolphins would be hearing that from ages away, this like really high pitched squeak noise, and they'd be getting really confused. And they're like, "Why are there dolphins in this farm?" It would just get too confusing for everyone involved.
Farm, and then you'd have a whole load of dolphins in trouble. And and I mean, you know, and also we don't think about Old MacDonald Has a Farm would become a very different song if every single noise for every single animal was indeed just a very cute. Yeah, exactly. So it's arguably better song, and arguably a much better song, but also I don't know. Yeah, maybe not as much fun for him. Children. I don't know. Yeah. Well, lots to think about there. It's a truly wonderful sound. Thank you for bringing that to the show. And of course, the other question I have to ask you, you know, it's very important. This is a family-friendly podcast. It's suitable for people of all ages. Can you imagine an age? Can you think of an age?
An age?
Just an age, yeah.
6 and 3 days.
Yes, that's exactly totally suitable for 6 and 3 days. Any age you can imagine, any age you can think of, apart from 100. Long story. Any other age this podcast is suitable for. So because of that, I just have to check if there are any rude words you won't be saying to make sure this is family friendly.
Okay. Well, there's one particularly rude word that I'll definitely try not to say. Well, I have 3 here. So the first one.
Okay.
Foot spa.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Is this? Can I just check? Are you doing this in order of severity? Because we've already started quite high.
But yeah, it's quite. Okay. Yeah. Well, so it's really 2, and then a variation. So
okay, all right, okay. I'm bracing myself for it, and I really appreciate you making sure you won't say this. Foot spa though, just straight away hits you right in the gut. Does it?
It hits you. Foot
that's
spa
a bit
is
much, but
is quite aggressive. Plop.
Oh.
It's a pretty common one, isn't it? But it's one of the worst.
But, one of the absolute worst, and one that we must never. We can't. I don't think we could ever say plop on this show. We'd probably be banned from the internet. I think probably just banned from sound. I think everything we said would have to be muted. Yeah.
But then this is where I get to the third bit, which is actually just a variation on that one, and I think potentially worse, which is of course plip plop.
Well, oh no. Oh no, that's horrendous because that's like a poo shoe, isn't it? That's sort of like if you wore a poo to the beach, it would be a plip plop, and that's a particularly horrible idea.
Yeah. Plip plop.
I think that is possibly one of the worst things I've ever heard, and all I can think of is people at the beach with poo feet. Obviously, then were they to wear as many shoes on their shoes, they'd have many poos on their feet until they're standing on about 15 poos.
Oh no. It's
horrible.
Yeah, that's hard. I'm really sorry to have lowered the tone with that.
Well, no, of course, because you're not going to say that word, and that's why I appreciate, because I think that the fact that you promised not to say plip plop means that I definitely won't be saying plip plop as long as you don't say plip plop as well.
Yeah, I promise I won't say anything about plips or plops or plip plops, and certainly not about plip plops being in your foot spa.
Oh, well, thank goodness for that, and I thank you for respecting the show, and of course all of our listeners, even the pigs. Right now, listen. One of the main reasons I've got you on the show is we've had a question in that I just think I think you're the most ideal person that can answer this with all your many years of expertise, from making eggs angry to the shoes for your shoes, everything you've done. So I'm going to read this question to you, and I'm more than happy to. I might have to give it some context, but this is the question. It says, "Hello, it is me, Gurgle, Tiernan Tentacles from Comedy Club for Squids. I am 34 squid years old, and I have a question. If you Earth beings, Gurgle, were to make a supermarket, what would you sell? Gurgle. P.S. Here is a farting squid from the studio. Gurgle." Now, before we get to the bulk question, now, I'm aware that obviously you know our podcast because everybody in the entire world, in fact the galaxy does, about Comedy Club for Kids podcast, Radio Nonsense. But do you know about the Comedy Club for Squids podcast, Squidio Squidsons?
I of course know about it, but as I personally am not a squid, I haven't listened to it as avidly as I've listened to this podcast.
I mean, that makes me very pleased to say. I have to say that there has been some rivalry between us and the Comedy Club for Squids, partly because they I did a little bit of squid content on a previous episode. They said I was treading on or squelching on their patch. I don't really know what swimming on their patch. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine now. I try not to do things like what's the best piece of art where someone's just thrown ink at it, or how many suckers to I don't know, put on a window. I don't really know what they talk about. They're talking squid. I find it quite boring, to be honest. But I am honoured that Tiernan Tentacles has been listening to this show. Obviously, this has a bit more of a range than just people and pigs.
Nice of him to reach out, with one of his many tentacles. Yeah,
I was going to say it's probably quite easy for them to reach out. I thought they reach out a lot of the time. So it's lovely, you know. So I just wanted you to be aware that this is where that question is coming from. If you weren't aware, if you didn't know that podcast. But obviously the big question here is, and I should thank you for the farting squid from the studio. It's lovely. I'll put that with the other animals. The question here is, were you to make a supermarket, what would you sell? And firstly, were you to make a supermarket? Would you do that? Is that something you'd consider?
It's not something I've considered before. There are already quite a few supermarkets. But one thing I can't stop envisioning at the moment, just maybe because it's so hot, is that I definitely think that the first whole area of the supermarket should just be paddling pools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that would be really nice on a day like today to just get into the supermarket and just, you could test them all by rolling on them. Yeah.
That's a lovely idea. Would you then have to walk around the rest of the supermarket with like soggy wet pants on?
If you chose to, you would be welcome to. But there would be a little robot with really fluffy towels there to like dry you off. And obviously they would sell the exact outfit you were already wearing. They would just give it to you for free because they'd already have a version of it in the supermarket, which sells everything. So you could test it. Yeah. They'd dry you up, give you the other clothes, dry the clothes that you've just taken off so you can have them ready on the way back. It's very efficient.
I mean, this is an incredible idea, and is it, you know, would it work both ways? If you had supermarkets with kind of paddling pools and perhaps even a swimming pool at the front, would it work then for swimming pools to have a little grocery section as you left?
Oh, definitely, because I love that. If I've ever been swimming, I always need to have a little snack after. I know they say you're not really meant to eat. Wait, is it? Do you not eat? You don't swim after eating, but you can eat after swimming, can't you?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think it's because it might make you sick. But then, like, the problem I have is that there's so many, like custard, for example. You add powder to water. What happens if you were to pour that in a swimming pool and you ate it while you swam through it? Would that then be bad for you, or not matter because you're already swimming while you're eating?
I imagine it could be quite bad for you. Also because I don't know. Have you ever seen people walking on swimming pools of custard?
No.
Apparently that's
people do.
Apparently that's a thing you can do. At my supermarket, it's a thing you can do.
Right. Yeah. I see. Yeah, they haven't brought that into our local store actually, and I'm quite sad because I'd like to walk on custard. I feel like it would be quite pleasant.
It would be quite what? Sorry.
Pleasant, just pleasant for your feet to have a little custard squelch.
Yeah,
obviously,
it would definitely.
You couldn't wear 15 shoes; you would go straight through it. But
you would take all the shoes off and then just really feel it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I would love to have a little supermarket when you swim out of a swimming pool. It's ideal.
That's an incredible thought, because I'm going to be honest here. I get slightly upset with the fact that a supermarket is in no way. I mean, maybe it is super. Maybe a normal market is just like an everyday market with its kind of glasses on and going about its job. And then to become a supermarket, it suddenly sells frozen things. I don't know where the super bit is. What I want is I would like a supermarket to be that it's got laser eyes and can fly and stuff.
So it really put the super back into supermarket.
Yes. Yeah. Or only sell soup, one or the other, you know.
Ah, yeah. No, I get what you mean. I think I do like the idea of a supermarket that sells capes.
Yes. Yeah. Because where does if superheroes can't go to supermarkets, where do superheroes go to buy super stuff?
Exactly. I think it's this third. I think it's a supermarket for superheroes.
Wow.
So you have capes, you have gadgets, you have pants that you can wear under your super suit and pants that you wear on top of the super suit to make it a super suit.
Underwear and over underwear.
Under underwear and over underwear. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That I think would make sense. Sunglasses for lasers. obviously you would need to have a whole section for your what do you call it, the sort of your pets that kind of run alongside you when you're a superhero. Your like companions, your
like sidekicks.
sidekicks. Yeah, you would.
Yes,
So you'd have a supermarket, but inside that there would need to be a sidekick market as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And what about like do super villains go to the supermarket, or would that cause fights or is there like a kind of pact that while we're doing our shopping we don't bother each other?
They do it in shifts. So like the villains go in the morning and then superheroes go at night.
Would go in the morning as well, wouldn't they? They'd go first thing, waiting for the door to open. It'd be really annoying
because they're not busy during the day. They do all their bad stuff at night. Whereas superheroes, quite often they have day jobs, so they do sometimes need to go. Like Clark Kent, he's Peter Parker. They're all journalists and stuff, so they've got to be at the office during the day, so they do their shopping at night.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? You may potentially have supermarket staff who are doing their day jobs before then go to be superheroes.
Yeah,
at night, and then they get discount on some of their goods.
Yeah, that would be very clever. That would be very clever. I bet if I were an evil mastermind villain, which sometimes I think I might be, I would get a job on the night shift so I could watch what all the superheroes are buying and then concoct a plan out of that. Or just make sure, brilliant. And like say like, Superman really liked a certain type of yogurt, right? And I'd always make sure there's yogurt was there. And then one day I would just make sure I buy all the yogurt before he gets there, so he'd be really, really mad that all the yogurt was gone. I bet that would be a big mastermind plan. That
is an absolutely incredible plan. And also I really hope Superman has a very specific type of yogurt that he likes, and that is, that's what we don't see is the moment where Superman goes, "They've not got my yogurt, right? I'm going to be bad now. This has ruined my day."
Yeah, that's the biggest plot point. It's like all of these supervillains, maybe they just didn't have enough crunch corners left, and that's what tipped them over the edge.
I can see it. I'd sympathise with that entirely.
Yeah,
entirely. That would be wow. I mean, I'm trying to think what Superman's favourite yogurt would be. Perhaps a sort of. I assume he'd just go for a kind of natural Greek yogurt somehow. I can't see him going for a fancy flavour. Yeah,
I bet he has to write on it when he sticks it in the fridge at work. Don't eat. This is Clark's or something. Yeah. Clark's yogurt.
Yeah, but I bet it says don't eat. This is Superman. So he's crossed out Superman and put Clark's.
Yeah,
because he forgets. Yeah, forgets.
Exactly. But he'd
absolutely.
But he's like, no one will read too much into that. I can leave it like that and just put one line through it. Lois Lane every now and then looks at it and thinks, that's a bit odd, but okay, it's his yogurt. Maybe he was hungry when he wrote that. He just got a bit hangry.
Maybe Superman snuck in and wrote on people's yogurts because that's the sort of thing he'd probably do. So... yeah, wow. I mean, that's amazing. I also like that, obviously, you said, if you were a supervillain, but and you're not, but I know you were for about 2 weeks, which is something, I don't want to spoil it. You'll include it in the book.
I'll include it in the book.
That was an exciting time,
It was, it was quite a dark time. It was quite a controversial time. And, thank you for asking me about it, because a lot of people want to ignore that. But, I mean, I had a really great time stealing all those bears.
I remember reading it, and I was very, all a bit scared because supervillain, but I was also very impressed. You did it. I think you did it very well. You had a very cool costume,
and I knew that Batman would be able to handle it. I knew he'd be able to handle me putting a bunch of bears in his house. Yeah, it was it was a bit of a prank. I thought he'll be able to wrangle all these bears. The bears know me. They were doing it as a bit of a joke. I gave them a whole load of honey to pay them off.
Am I right in thinking Batman put on a rave for them? I think if I remember, he put the smoke on, he put on the rave, and it led to what we now know as Air, Bear and Bear, which has obviously gone on to become very good. So
I know. So really, was I the villain there? I gave him yet another stream of revenue. Because he was already a millionaire, and now he's got Air, Bear and Bear.
This is it. Even when you're a supervillain, you're so giving.
I'm so
you can't
giving
stop
with
giving
my
opportunities.
ideas. Yeah.
It is lovely. It is lovely. Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't want to. I'm pleased you went into that. I didn't want to spoil the book, obviously, too much because people do need to go out and grab that when it arrives. But just to check then, because I mean, we've already had so many wonderful ideas. But if you had a supermarket, you would mainly want to sell paddling pools, or is it just that you wish supermarkets had paddling pools in? And in which case, what would you sell?
I also like the idea, right? If I had a supermarket, because you get everything in different sizes, right? Like small, medium, and large, but usually they're quite sort of normal sizes. So say you've got a jar of mayonnaise, right? So you'd have your regular small, medium, large, but I would want like full adult size, like a 7-foot tall jar of mayonnaise, and all products would come in that like 7-foot tall size. Ketchup, margarine, cabbages, really huge. They'd all be at one side of the supermarket. And then on the other side of the supermarket, you'd have the same thing, but really, really tiny miniature size ones. So you could choose whether or not you wanted to shop in the big section and feel like a borrower or a mouse, or to shop in the tiny section and feel like a giant.
What an absolutely brilliant idea. I love that.
Yeah,
that's an absolutely fantastic idea. And so you could just have it in height order.
Yeah.
And decide what size. Because also, like, you might be someone that, say, loves mayonnaise, or you might be someone that just likes a tiny little bit of mayonnaise. And then it's got everything for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you need to, if you're going to do a big shop, make it a big shop. And just
little bag of gravel, massive sack of gravel. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got Delia coming round, you probably need the bigger sack of gravel.
Yeah. I think that's a wonderful idea, and also caters for people. I'm not a very tall person. It would be nice if I could find an aisle where I could reach everything and potentially carry it. But were like a giant or a bear or whatever to go in, they've got something for that. Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah. It's just a whole new way of organizing things. It gets very boring, everything being in aisles,
Yeah, well, I like you because you got there's a certain supermarket, there's Tesco Extra, but you can have Tesco Extra Small, Tesco Small, Tesco Medium, Tesco Large, Tesco Extra Large, Tesco Extra Large, Extra.
XL, yeah.
XL, yeah.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be that hard. Yeah,
I'm actually surprised. You putting it like that makes me think that maybe at one point it did exist, and they were like, "Oh no, we'll just get rid of that," and they just kept Tesco Extra, which is a shame.
I wonder if somebody fell in the giant mayonnaise or something, and then they went, "Oh, well, this has to." Yeah, maybe it's a bit risky.
Yeah. Well, this is the problem when you let supervillains run supermarkets. They start pushing people in the mayonnaise.
Well, that's it, and it's not as easy to run on as, say, custard. I don't think mayonnaise. It's not got the same sort of like skin thing, so you'd sort of be a bit stuck for a while until you have to sort of be scooped out with some chips or someone would have to really get you.
Well, we maybe have to consider letting superheroes and supervillains shop at the same time to kind of balance each other out. I don't know if they'd be up for that.
This one question from Tiernan Tentacles, and you've revolutionised how supermarkets should be, and it's
yeah.
Well,
I think
thank you. I mean, this is yep.
I was just going to say, Sainsbury's, Tesco, Aldi, Lidl, they better watch out. They better watch out. Yep. And I hope actually they don't. Everyone, make sure they don't hear this podcast, because we don't want them hearing all our great ideas.
Yeah, definitely don't. Yeah. Yeah, can you do like an audio? I don't know how you do an audio copyright. Do you just have to sort of copyright? Do you have to shout it or something? Or?
Copyright. Just in the background, just like humming, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is all owned by Charlie Vero-Martin, and I don't know if I can claim ownership. I have to say most of the ideas are indeed yours. I'll copyright the Airbnb with bees. And then beyond that, I think I should let you have them to add to your incredible sort of amount of brilliant things that you already do. Listen, Charlie Vero-Martin, it's such a joy to have you. Look, What an exciting and educating episode. And I hope listeners find it inspiring. You know, I'll let you know if anyone writes in to say that they've set up a sort of a house swapping system for a specific type of animal, or perhaps they've set up a supermarket, you know, in a slightly different manner. And I'll let
Love
you
it.
know, not least so you can sue them for copyright breach.
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe if I do some sort of Dragon's Den type situation,
Yes.
they could come see. Maybe I'll invest. Who knows? You know.
Wow.
I'm very
Well,
busy
there you
these
go.
days, so maybe I need the next generation to help me run all my companies for me.
What a note to end on. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming, for somehow finding time in your life to come on this show, and hopefully we'll get you back soon.
Oh, thank you very much.
Because we have so many funny things to do this summer. Make flamingo ice cream.
Big thank you to Charlie Vero-Martin for so expertly answering Tiernan Tentacles' question. And Tiernan Tentacles, look, I hope you're happy with that answer. I mean, if not, you can stick to listening to the Comedy Club for Squids for all I care, though of course I am delighted you do listen to this show too, despite how few questions are about ink or suckers or pretending you're a rock. None of those things we're going to cover on this show, so I hope you're not expecting those. If you have a question that needs answering, or you want to send in a joke, or your impression of a happy frog so you can win a game of uproar, or you need some Japanese translating really badly, then do please get your cloddish parpogers, grown-ups, to help you email us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk with all of those things. Do also check out our t-shirts and book at comedyclubforkids.store, and come and see us live at so many shows this summer, all of which you can find listed at comedyclubforkids.co.uk. Who knows, maybe Linda will turn up to one. I mean, I doubt it, but, you never know. Oh, and in a couple of weeks, I'll also have some very exciting news about shows too, so do listen out for that too. Now, I know you're wondering, but Tiernan, what do you and Linda do for your Sammy Hilly do's? I know you've said that you're going to festivals, but we want to know what you do for the hooly do's time. Well, Linda, I've no idea what she does. I think she's now been on her summer holidays for about 4 years, I'm guessing. Linda, where'd you... No. But me... I'm going to go and have a proper rest by putting some sun cream on. Or is it double cream? Wait, which one protects you from the sun and which one gets you attacked by cats? Oh, well, I'll just wait and see. I'll pop that on, and then I'm going to sit in the part of Comedy Club for Kids HQ that has a window in it and fewer farting animals, so I can have a real break until next week's show. Here we go. Sun cream. Ah, bliss. Oh, no. Bye. You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. It's the end.